The high cost of terror and American court fines Palestinian groups hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay, another story we're following out of the Middle East. A federal court in the United States ordered the Palestine Liberation Organization, or the PLO, and the Palestinian Authority to pay millions to terror victims. The payout covers attacks in Jerusalem more than 10 years ago. An attorney representing 10 of the families involved in the lawsuit say that this is justice.
It's about accountability. It's about justice. As I said to the jury, there's nothing that can bring the loved ones back. Money has to stand in for other things because that's the only power this jury had. But the jury sent a very clear message that those who commit terror against Americans will be held accountable in a United States court of law.
The first attack included in the lawsuit was January 8, 2001, a shooting in Givon Junction near Jerusalem. Other attacks span from 2002 to 2004. January 22, 2002, the suit claimed several people associated with the Palestinian Authority and the Palestine Liberation Organization carried out a shooting in downtown Jerusalem. 2 people were killed and dozens injured, including several American plaintiffs to this case. January 27, 2002, a woman set off a suicide bomb in downtown Jerusalem. 1 person was killed, at least 150 others were hurt. To March 21, 2002, the lawsuit says Palestinian terrorists carried out a bomb attack also in downtown Jerusalem, killing 3 people, wounding more than 80 others. June 19, 2002, a crowded bus stop in northern Jerusalem was bombed. 7 people killed, more than 50 wounded. And on July 31, 2002, terrorists bombed the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. 9 people killed, including 5 Americans. 85 were wounded. The last attack included in the case is from January 2004. Terrorists bombed a passenger bus, killing 11 and wounding 50 others. This verdict could pave the way for more lawsuits against groups and organizations, especially those with deep pockets which allegedly fund terrorism. For more, Jonathan Schanzer joins us now from Washington. He's a former terrorism financial analyst with the U.S. Treasury, and he is now with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. So now that the PA and the PLO have been linked, what are the ramifications for those organizations?
Well, it certainly raises questions about the activities that those 2 organizations were involved in back during the second Intifada, that period of intense violence between 2000 and 2005. In other words, it's pointing out what we already knew, which is that Yasser Arafat diverted funds that were coming from the international community and through funds that they raised through the PLO, and siphon them off to terrorist groups, including the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, 417, Tanzim, and other groups that carried out some fairly gruesome attacks during that time period.
This is now the second verdict in a U.S. court like this. The other one was about 5 months ago against the Arab Bank. So does this now open the door to similar lawsuits? I mean, hypothetically, could legal action, say, be brought against the Saudi government for something like the 9/11 hijackers?
Well, we already have a court case along those lines against the Saudis, but I think we are going to be looking now ahead to, for example, this ISIS phenomenon. I think there are going to be some people looking at the ways that ISIS is gaining funds. We know of various financiers coming out of, for example, Qatar or Turkey or Kuwait, and so it's quite possible that entities or individuals in those countries could be held liable, including the governments themselves.
They can be held liable, but then the question comes, how do you get the compensation? How do you get the huge sums of money out of these groups? The Palestinian Authority, for one, is pretty much broke. So assuming their appeal fails, how do lawyers get the money for their clients?
I think it's exceedingly unlikely. I mean, the Palestinian Authority has almost no holdings whatsoever. They do have a sovereign wealth vehicle, although it claims to be quite separate from the Palestinian Authority itself. The PLO is an independent organization that may have extremely deep pockets, but their finances are not transparent. So at that point, you would need to probably employ the services of a forensic accountant, for example, to try to dig up what funds there may be here in the United States. But I would assume that even before this case hit the dockets, the PLO was smart enough to remove their funds from U.S. soil.
The Israelis are holding, what, about $200 million right now in Palestinian tax revenue. Could the Israelis hand over the money?
The Israelis might. I mean, I think it's quite possible. And by the way, that 200 million is actually about 100 million per month that the Israelis withhold in taxes. So it would be entirely up to the discretion of the Israelis as to whether they would be legally bound to do this according to Israeli law. Another interesting thing, by the way, is that legislators here in the United States have been just itching to cut the funds of the Palestinian Authority. And so perhaps they might deduct some of those funds and hand them to the victims of the terrorist attacks that are here in the United States, and just hand the balance over to the Palestinians as one means of punishing the PA.
Thanks to Jonathan Schanzer there, speaking from the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy.